of the overhang and the supports. Remember, we did the model with the, somewhere in the thing, with the overhang support that we got from Uncle Jesse on printables to test the advanced settings. And some of the advanced settings in the first video was to use PETG as your support interface layer. So in other words, you have your support, and instead of having PLA to PLA, your interface layers are made out of PETG, and those don't bind together or weld together under heat, as well as PLA to PLA or PETG to PETG. So we did some testing on this, and in the last video, which was, I guess, was part 2, turned out pretty good. The underside was a hell of a lot better by using those 5 secrets, and those 5 secrets were a number of things, but I want to go over those and how I changed something, and we'll see whether that change worked out or not. So let's take a look. What we ended up doing is, again, there is our test model, and these are the settings that we ended up using. And if I can get my thing set up. So here we have, again, we have the model and the base are going to be printed in PLA. The support raft interface is all going to be in PETG. So when we came down to the advanced settings here, as we scroll down here, we had the top Z distance at, it was 0. And we had a little bit of trouble getting the supports off of the model. And if I took a little bit more time, it would have been better. But I changed this back to 0.2 and resliced this model. So the top Z distance, there's a distance between the top of the model or the top of the supports. And let me just go ahead and slice this so we can see what we're talking about here. So what we end up having, if we zoom in here, these in black is the PETG with the 3 interface layers. So with that, there's a little bit of distance that we put 0. So this PETG was directly touching that next layer, which is PLA. And I think that's why we had some adhesion between the two. We're still able to get it off, but I think with this, in that if we have some distance between that, and that's why we ended up changing this to the top Z distance here, we're going to go back to stock and leave that at 0.2. So with that, again, the base pattern is going to be rectilinear grid. The other setting that I changed was the top interface layers was 3, so that we have a total of 3 layers. And the pattern rectilinear, top interface spacing is 0.2. And when we take a look at that, this is the spacing of interface line. 0 means a more solid surface. And so the smaller this is, the better the underside of your print is going to get. So yeah, we've got that going on for us. And everything else was stock. So we're printing this, in case you didn't know, at 0.2 using Creality Hyper PLA. And we're going to, actually, we already went ahead and printed that. So what I want to do is take over here and show you the results. So that way we can get a first-hand experience on what's going on. And let's just we'll kind of put you down here. I'll move that there like so. And excuse my paint rack, I just finished making that. But we'll take out our model. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and we'll set that out of the way. And we'll show you the model that we have. So here is the model, and you can see, I wish they had the zoom on here. There you go. But you can see the little black layers in there. That's the PETG. And I didn't take this off the build plate because the supports come off really easy with the PETG, and I didn't want to ruin it for you. So what we're going to end up doing, let's see if we can get you all in here a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. Pardon the movement. And there we go. So with this, I think what we'll end up doing, we'll go ahead and get our little scraper, and since this has cooled down a lot, See how that just popped off? And basically, yeah, the whole thing just popped off. Isn't that crazy? Now, the thing that we want to take a look at, I mean, this is just so cool. So we can see those support interface layers. If it'll focus. There we go. Focus. Can it? No, it doesn't have the focus thing. So anyway, but we've got a real good pattern on there. And with those, the smaller holes in the distances, we should have a cleaner undersurface or surface on this part of the print. And so what we end up here, we still get some, the pattern there that could be better. But as far as markings, we have zero damage. And this is the best that I've seen with this. So let's compare this to the other one. So for example, this is the one that we just ended up doing with the stock PETG. We didn't do any of the additional 5 settings, and we get kind of similar undersides. But what I did notice is we did have more scarring with this model than we did with the 5 secret settings, or at least that's what I'm calling them. So the differences are very minimal, but yeah, we definitely got less damage and scarring on this. And then when we compared to the other one that we ended up doing with, remember this had the top Z distance at 0.2 millimeters, and this one had 0. So you can see the difference in the surface area on this is pretty flat. It's pretty clear compared to this one. So yeah, it just ends up, I think this turned out pretty good as far as this one. So I think the biggest difference between this underside, as you can see there, and those little scratch marks, that's my fault. Between this, I mean, this one definitely looks better. But I think when we had the 5 adjustments and the top Z distance was stock on the K2 Plus in Creality print, which was 0.2 millimeters, we ended up getting a little rough underhang surface there compared to this one here. So yeah, we're gonna play with this. And what I think I'll do is I'll run this test again, and I'll set the top Z distance at 0.1. and see how that turns out. I won't make a video. Maybe I will. It depends on how well it turns out. But obviously at 0, we're going to get a better surface area than the 0.2. So I don't know. Maybe put 0.05 and we can see how it goes. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So anyway, that's what we end up having in doing our little test. And again, the 3 surface layers using PETG with the stock setting of the top Z distance, it definitely made a difference in that underside layer on that overhang was just not as crisp and clean as it was when it was set to 0. But when it was set to 0, and we ended up getting that better surface area, it was harder to take off these supports. I actually had to, scrape these using the wrong tool. But yeah, we got to find that happy medium and that balance between that. So 0.02 versus 0, maybe 0.1, and we'll see how that comes into play. And yeah, maybe we'll do another video on that. So yeah, fun stuff with printing and enjoying it, finding out these little tips and tricks and everything. And this was the tower that it printed, and this should, I wonder how is this going to come up. Ba-ting! Yep, sure did. And you can see the surface area on those are really clean. So yeah, just kind of amazing some of the stuff that you can end up getting with your 3D printer, and mine being the K2 Plus. So the K2 Plus did a good job. I appreciate that, baby. You're awesome. Still keeping fingers crossed. But that's what we have up doing. That's what we're doing right now, is just kind of, in my tripod, excuse me, just it's losing its tension. So yeah, again, finishing up the test, and it looks really interesting as far as doing the testing and finding the different settings for those overhangs in regards to using PETG as a support support raft interface layers, which I set to 3, and versus the stock settings versus the PLA as doing for everything, getting some interesting little results here. So yeah, just a little bit of fine tuning, and it'd be interesting because I think in 3D printing, what's going to happen is you're going to have companies that are going to make profiles. They already make profiles for, their filaments and things like this. For, you do a scroll down box, and here's one for 0.2 layer height, for strength, for quality, for speed, for this or that, and they have those profiles. But I think eventually companies are going to get more into it and find and post profiles for items like this, and saying, well, if you're going to do supports in PETG, choose this profile and you'll get the best underside on your model out of anything. And at least it'll help dial you in to those settings instead of just having to run through this on our own. So yeah, if you're interested in this, another tool in the toolbox, I think, and I'm enjoying it, doing this little testing thing since I'm an American expat, retired in Korea with my printer. Gives me something to do. But again, like I said in the previous video, getting ready to go to lunch, and I got about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna let you go. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. Yeah, good stuff. Are you sure you want to quit streaming? I guess. Yeah, sure.